Well, hello, friends. I hope that you are having a very, very good day. I have something on my head today that I typically don't wear, and this is my Indian headdress or my Indian feathers. Now, when I think of the Native Americans or the Indians and I think of their chiefs, I think of feathers like this. But you know that the holy men of the Indians, the priests or the religious leaders of the Indian tribes, also wore headdresses or very special feathers to identify who they were. Every culture has identifying signs for its holy men or holy women. Did you know that? The Indians would wear certain feathers on their head. Some cultures or churches, the priests or the pastors would wear white collars or do wear white collars or even robes or some very other ornate things that identify them as a pastor or a priest. Now, I'm a pastor. I'm not a priest. And in my faith tradition, I don't wear a collar or I don't wear a robe. In fact, the only identifying sign or symbol that I have in my possession that identify me as a pastor is this badge that I wear when I visit the hospital. And on it says Milt, my name, and clergy. And that means that as I wear this badge, then people know that I am there visiting as a spiritual pastor or an advisor or a person who's there to help. Now, some of you attend churches where there are priests, and they may dress differently than you. Some of you attend other churches where the pastor dresses just like you. And so, those are the ways that we identify our spiritual leaders. As we talk about the names and titles of Jesus, today we're going to talk about this title. Jesus is the chief priest, or the high priest. Now, why is Jesus called the chief priest? Well, in the Jewish system, a priest mediated between the people and God. The high priest was the supreme religious leader of the Israelites. The office of the high priest was traced from Aaron, the brother of Moses, who was of the Levite tribe. And this high priest was the chief religious leader of the Israelites and had certain duties. Among those duties was to determine the will of God and to oversee the other priests. Most importantly, it was the high priest who entered into the most holy place on the Day of Atonement. Only the high priest could enter, and before doing so, he was required to make a sacrifice for himself. In this way, the high priest was cleansed and could then go on to offer the cleansing sacrifices for the forgiveness of sins for all the people. Now, during the New Testament time, or during the time of Jesus, the chief priests were the leading priests who were members of the Sanhedrin, or the Jewish ruling council. And the high priest was one of those chief priests. In the New Testament book of Hebrews, we read numerous passages that describe Jesus as the high priest. Hebrews 4 says this, "We have a great high priest. He has gone up into heaven. He is Jesus, the Son of God. So let us hold firmly to what we say we believe. We have a high priest who can feel it when we are weak and hurting. We have a high priest who has been tempted in every way just as we are, but he did not sin. So let us boldly approach God's throne of grace, and then we will receive mercy. We will find grace to help us when we need it." So Jesus, as the high priest, mediates for us. His sacrifice is what has provided forgiveness for our sins. Hebrews 10:12 says, "Jesus, our priest, offered one sacrifice for sins for all time, and then he sat down at the right hand of God." A very important thing for us to remember and understand today is that it is because Jesus is our high priest that we can approach God with confidence. Pastors and priests are very important people. They do help us understand more about God. However, Jesus, as our high priest, gives us the opportunity to have a direct relationship with God. We don't need to have the priests or the pastors be the ones to ask God for forgiveness. We can go to God on our own. Because of Jesus, our high priest, we are now free to come to God and have a direct relationship with him. I am glad for that, and I hope you are too. So I hope today, as you relate to God, that you have a day that's filled with joy and, above all else, right, a day that is filled with peace.